Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Donjo part number HR-110 Raw Steel Hinge Reinforcement. This is a hinge reinforcement. You can use this in a door or a frame, and this HR-1110 is for a 4-inch hinge. And every once in a while, you're going to bump into needing a plate for a 4-inch hinge. Every once in a while. Okay. I have a feeling this may be the same plate they use in the HR-100 for a 4.5 inch. It probably is. They say that this is 1.25 inches wide, which it is. 10 inch long. Well, closer to 8.5. Let's take a look at that. Their catalog does state 10 inch tall. This is definitely 8.5 inch wide. You know, we'll go with the printed definition for now, but the actual article is 8.5. The thickness is 0.137. 0.137 is the thickness. I don't know what 7 gauge is, but let's take a look. 7 gauge decimal equivalent. 7 gauge should be 0.1875. What did I say? 0.147. So that's thin. That is definitely thin on 7 gauge. That's that's to be sure. This would be 10 gauge maybe. $10 gauge. .134. So it's closer to what would be 9 gauge, 0.148. Not 7 gauge, that's to be sure. So we've got some deviation that's happening here. Anyway, moving on. Will any of that really ultimately, you know, be problematic? Probably not. So what you need is a hinge that has a hinge reinforcement plate that can work compatibly with installing, and I'm pulling up a template for a hinge, a 4-inch hinge. That first hole, they should be 1 1/32 basically, center to center. And then, you know, okay, this appears to be the template location. A template for a 4-inch should be 1.04 from center line to center line, and then from here to here, and it should be 31/32 basically from here to here, which it does appear to be the case. They should be 3/8 from their centers, their respective centers, and they do appear to be that as well. 3/8 from here to here. So this would be the plate for a 4-inch hinge. This client bought 3 each of a 3.5, 4, and a 4.5. I can see that they are a distributor. I would imagine they have a metal shop. So you're going to occasionally bump into needing to prepare a hollow metal frame for a door with an unusual hinge. And it's really nice to have these plates laying around because it's a lot cheaper just to have 3 of them laying around than it is to make your own. Not that it's in your mind difficult to make this, but it's not, because it's not. But getting that offset is really going to be crucial. So the thickness of the material, adding the thickness of the hinge that you're adding to this, which is probably 0.130 thick, plus the thickness of your steel of the frame, will all conspire, or your door, to give you, when you install this, when the hinge is installed, it's to be flush with the edge of your door. You might have to play with this a little bit. Grind this down, build it out, because you have some variables. What is the actual thickness of the hinge that you're putting on there? It could be a residential thickness, about 96 thousandths. What is the actual thickness of the frame or the door that you're applying it to? So you might have to play with this. They give some dimples here, okay, that you might need to grind down. But in the long run, it's very easy work to do. What we would do, if you're going to install this to a frame, we would well, we would have a hydraulic die for punching the frame for the 4.5-inch size, and that gives you a really nice cutout. The stick material slides into the die, into the die set. Then the punch comes down and makes a nice, clean, albeit sharp, prep into that frame. We would then take that material over, flip it over. Actually, what we would do is I would put the plate into the frame itself. I would hold it up and I would screw a sample hinge to it, a shop hinge, screw it to it. I would get it in place. I would then flip it over, and then I would weld this material down after making any accommodations for thickness. You can see that you've got that offset there, and let's try to measure what that offset is. Shouldn't be too difficult to determine that. So you can see how I'm measuring this. And I'm coming up with 0.182, 0.182. And if I subtract the material thickness, which I think was 0.147, no, I'm getting, I measure at a different time, I'm getting, well, 0.135. So 0.047 is the offset between here and here. So 0.047 plus your material thickness minus your hinge leaf thickness. Yeah, you might need to do a little bit of work on that to make it really compatible with your application. That's what we've got here. So that's how we would do it in a frame. In a door, you would cut your preparation in the edge of your hollow metal door, that 4-inch long prep, whether you're cutting it all the way through the door or whether you're doing it as a handed door with a back set. You would then drill, what we would do is drill a couple of holes on an angle on top of the prep, and then below the prep. The plate goes in the door, the sample hinge comes, screw it to there as a handle, then you plug weld. Okay, drill a hole through this, plug weld everything top and bottom, grind those welds, dress them if you need to, bondo them if you need to, prime them, cool it off and prime it. That's how we would end up putting those in. So they're very handy things to have laying around. Now, there is a table below this video. Let's switch to the screen view and take a look at the table that I'm referring to. Okay, so here's the item that we're looking at. Here's the table that we're referring to. Shows all of the different model numbers of hinge plates. Okay, a description, what they're used for, their size, their offset. 3/32 is not the offset. That's 96 thousandths. Hinge weight, 124. Sure, you're going to use it for a reasonably, what would be considered a standard weight hinge in a 4-inch. Any video that we have associated will be in this far column. Then we have the extended description information that's here that gives you just a regurgitation of what's already in the table. Okay, does take a 1224 screw, sold as each. Here's a link to the product catalog. We could fire that up and go through all of the filler plates, mounting tabs, and signs from Donjo. They have a comprehensive offering. Since you're probably dealing with hollow metal doors and frames to begin with, they have a comprehensive offering of filler plates. Strike fillers, hinge fillers. An EPT1, you don't sell those very often, that you want to fill in a power transfer. Strikes and shims, split shims. These are nice so that you can change the cant, the way that the door is canted in the frame. If you're shimming fire-rated doors, you must use steel shims. Don't use business cards. And if you do, be sure to use your competitor's business card. That's just a joke. Filler plates, latch fillers, hinge fillers, mortise pocket fillers, more conversion plates that you can use to convert a mortise pocket to a 161, etc. Filler plates for 2 1/8-inch holes and then variants of that. Filler plates if you want to blank out an electric strike, or if you want to blank out an electric strike and add just a mechanical strike to it, or maybe You're removing the electric strike and adding an electrified lock set. Kits are available, or hinge plates that we've just gone over, and that's the table. Dust boxes, those are really important if you're doing some custom fabrication. In fact, if you are putting in your hinge plates that we just discussed, I do not see a dust box to cover every possible thing that you can do, but I do see them here for your frame hinge. Okay, so you're going to want to be sure that you have a dust box going over the preparation I just described. No sense doing a custom frame, giving the frame to a mason and he pumps that full of mortar and you can't put your hinge screws in. Mounting tabs for flush bolts and guides, glazing channel and pipe anchors. Little hollow metal shop supply house they have going here. Typical combination anchor that can be used for metal studs. You can use it for wood studs. You can use it for an expansion anchor situation as well. Wire anchors. Some people can't stand wire anchors. Other people will only use wire anchors, and the logic with a wire anchor is that when you place that into your frame and lay it between the course of your block, that mortar is absolutely covering that. Slipping those wire anchors out is not something that's going to happen. Some people feel like they'll slip out. They just don't. Reinforcements for door closers. These are necessary. Flat reinforcements, parallel universal reinforcements, parallel arm bracket along with regular arm. If you're not sure how your client's going to install their door closer, you better give it to them both ways. These temporary locks are used with padlocks in construction, temporary construction entrances. You go to the shopping mall, that's got to be a clean look, and they'll have a decent door on there and they'll use a clean temporary construction lock. Signage down here, that continues on. Back to the page that we're working on. Link to the manufacturer's website is here. Let's go ahead and click on that. And from this page, you'll see not only all of the Donjo products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to their full catalog, along with all of their individual sections of their catalog. If you know the name Donjo at all, you probably do for their latch protectors or their wraparound plates. But they make other things like frame and door hinge reinforcements, push and pull hardware, flat goods. They even have pivots, ladder pulls, hinges somewhere. I know they've got hinges. Donjo hinges. So a lot of material. Let's wrap up this video on camera. Now, in conclusion, this plate is a pretty typical item. Maybe not 4-inch, but, you know, occasionally you're going to bump into it. You'll have a client who wants to replace, you'll have a client who wants to reuse a door because it's unusual but needs to do a steel frame. This could work out perfectly. That link below this video to the manufacturer's page is a great resource for contacting or becoming familiar with all things Donjo related. A really good company, relatively petite in their footprint. That allows them to focus on what they do. And they do it very well. They're people who are, they've been in the industry for years, understand the product of what they sell, and I would encourage you to review their product line. Any questions on the Donjo, part number HR-1110, 4-inch door or frame steel reinforcer, or any other Donjo product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.